Welcome, guys. This is episode 11 or something of ChatTactic. It's not really an actual episode. This is me with COVID. Yay! Not much fun, I've got to say. I've had it for 4 or 5 days now, I think, so I'm still in isolation. Today's the first day I've actually really felt like getting up and doing anything, and it's still really early. Like normally I would be doing my live stream for ChatTactic an hour before now. I was sort of hoping that I would be feeling better to be able to do it. I should have done an announcement yesterday, but I just really couldn't be bothered, to be honest. I've just been a bit of a zombie the last 4 or 5 days, and it's been weird actually. If you've had it or you've got it, then it's sort of one of those sort of strange things where it hits people in different ways. I've had friends that have had it where it might take them a day or two to sort of get over the worst of it. Other people are sick for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I feel like I can feel it's changing each day. So I'm sort of thinking I'm going to be in a more of a medium category. My wife has got it as well. We've both got it. The worst thing for both of us actually is we've both lost our sense of smell. And so we can't tell if food we've got in the fridge is off or not and stuff like that, which is really problematic. Like you go and get the milk and you think, I can't trust the date. Like I've got to try to smell it, and you can't smell anything. And and there's no point feeding it to the dogs to see if they'll eat it first, because they'll eat anything. I've never known their dogs to not eat, no matter how bad something is, they'll still eat it. So we can't even test it with animals. Anyway. So I think I'm on the mend, but I'm not going to be able to do this live because I just won't be able to. My brain has gone to mush over the last few days. What else has sort of been interesting? I mean, I've watched a lot of TV, or I've sort of vegged out in front of the TV a lot over those days, and it's funny because I've watched some things that I wouldn't have watched, and I really, really, really liked. There was a show called RRR. Actually, now that I'm not recording live, I can at least pause. That's why I wanted to just do something like this. But anyway, this has been an amazing, amazing movie to watch. It's a Tollywood. Now, I've never even heard of the term Tollywood. It's like a Hindi version of Bollywood, and it's what a great movie this is. It's sort of one of the best movies that I've seen in recent times. It's anyway highly recommend it. It's just amazingly good movie. Like it's a movie that's just fun to watch. Anyway, I thought I'd just highlight that sort of stuff as well. So I would recommend it. Also watch The Grey Man as well on Netflix. These are both on Netflix. That was a good series as well, I've got to say. I did enjoy that. So anyway, that was sort of what I was watching. I was watching a lot of Fail Army as well on YouTube, because Fail Army always brings brings laughter with it at other people's expense, which is sort of, my wife doesn't understand why I find it funny seeing things happen to other people, but anyway, I do find that quite funny. She looks at me thinking, that's weird that you would get Schadenfreude, a pleasure out of watching other people's misfortune. But it's anyway, I always do find those sort of things funny. But anyway, this is RRR is probably something that I would highly recommend. I think it's sort of the stuff I've read about it. It's corny as all hell. Like it's really, really funny, but it's really good. Like really, really good. Anyway, it just goes through the whole thing there. So it's very, very, very good movie. Extremely well done. I mean, there's even bits where, and I don't react in movies, but there's a scene in it, and I don't want to. Should I wreck it? No, I won't wreck the scene anyway. The two main guys are working together, and the choreography in it is just phenomenal. Like, and of course it's corny as anything, but it's just like in the way it's been done. But like I even fist pumped at one point, and I never ever do that with movies. Anyway, RRR was is the thing that's got me through COVID, with where I sort of felt a bit energized watching it. I really, really enjoyed it. Anyway, let's get back onto some game chat, I guess, or some other things. Yeah, so this is my history of what I've been playing recently, and you can sort of see there that actually I don't know if it tells me the days. I played Distant Worlds 2, which has now got the new version out, and like another version. So there's more and more versions coming out pretty much every second week at this stage for Distant Worlds 2. So I've played a fair bit of that over the last couple of weeks. You can sort of see there, time played 16.7 hours over. Now that would have not been this week. I haven't played it since I've had COVID. So and I got COVID on my Friday, which is and so I played this on Thursday. So that was the last thing I've actually played, and then on the Into the Breach as well. I've played for an hour, I think, on the... I might have played twice because there's been a big update to this one here. I think I played a little bit when the update first came out, but then I noticed there was another update, and then I tried playing this when I first got COVID, but my brain by that stage was like, it feels like every synapse in your brain has to sort of filter its way through a thing of cotton wool. Like you've got your brain, it's trying to sort of squeeze the thought process out through cotton wool, and that's playing these sort of games is just way too hard. So I do want to get and play that one. So yesterday, anyway, like you can see there, yesterday's games. This is the first time I started thinking, okay, I'm starting to feel a bit better. So I came down and I only could play for 27 minutes. Couldn't even take over a what is it called? One of those towers, one of those watchtowers. I tried to send my force into a watchtower, and so I rage quit because I lost people in that. And I thought, I'm just not up to it yet. But I know I'm on the mend because I'm gravitating back to my old favourites. You know, like I haven't played Age of Wonders 3 for a long time. But it is one of my favourite games, and I just felt like after the problems of playing something like Into the Breach, I just thought I've got to play something that I can veg out with, and Age of Wonders 3 was sort of where my head ended up. But in the end, even that wasn't good enough. But I will probably end up finding that I'm gravitating back towards there over the coming days. Days is the word I'm looking for. Days, not weeks, hopefully, or months. Anyway, other things we can sort of see through here. I'll just quickly go through this stuff. I won't make this a very long episode, but I will at least try to get some content out. My apologies for not being able to do this live as well, by the way. I thought I was going to be able to, and I actually, I normally wake up like a few hours before I'll be doing this one, but I actually woke up an hour after it was supposed to start as a live stream, and I really don't think that my throat would have been able to hold up properly for anything like a couple of hours of constant talking. I'll probably be okay to start doing stuff maybe tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll see how I go. I think as long as I don't talk too much. Other things actually that I've been doing, it doesn't show in here, but one game that I have been recording a lot, and I will be putting up a series. I'll start trying to put it up today, I think, if I can remember, is Shadow Empire. I've been recording a lot of that. Yes, I've got like 14 episodes of this recorded. I was recording this before I got hit with COVID, and I even did one episode, I think, when I had COVID. I think the first day, and I just did one, but then after that I just realised, look, I wasn't going to be in any sort of fit state to do it. This is actually from episode 0. I've got 13 normal episodes and 1 0 episode. One of the big problems I have with YouTube, and this is something that I may just talk a little bit about, is that the algorithm really smashes the channel now, because if you don't get regular numbers with your views over different videos, then you get punished for every time you put a video up. They no longer recommend it. So when you put a series together like this, where the first 1 or 2 episodes will get like they'll be fairly popular, but then people will realise this is not really the story that I want to be watching. Then what they do is it trails off until you end up with just a fraction of what you got on your first video, on your first release. But then YouTube then takes those numbers and then thinks, oh, the channel is no longer popular, so we won't recommend this channel anymore. And that's, unfortunately, when you're doing series like this, it actually hurts your channel to do it. And I'm so torn between trying to make YouTube into something that's going to be working for me, financially, as well as as well as for fun, or just for fun. And it's a real dilemma. I'm getting so much less views now than what I ever used to get because of this problem. And I love making these series, but I also I hate I hate knowing that they're going to hurt the channel. They actually do more damage to the channel than good. So I guess with that in mind, I mean, if I've been relying a bit more on merchandise and Patreon and things like that to sort of support the channel. But it's really, really tough with YouTube at the moment. I mean, I look at what a few of the other people do, like Splattercat, I think does it really, really well, and Nookrium. What they do is they tend to sort of put a lot more effort into like one video about a game, and and then just live stream on Twitch, I think, for the other bits and pieces. And that way, they've only got one video per game, and I think I don't think I could do it. Hang on, I've got a cough and have a drink of water. Yeah, there we go. That's why I can't do this live. So anyway, but I think that their model of working this has been reasonably successful. But I look at a lot of the other ones that do these series, and I think all of us have really sort of suffered quite a lot. I don't think any of us have actually gone ahead since YouTube has sort of been doing this, and they've been doing it for a long time. But I love doing it, and I don't think I could do what the other guys do. That where they can actually spend the time. I like spending time with a game for longer than just I would guess maybe a couple of days, like 2 or 3 days. I do like to really, really get into a game. And that's why I've got games like Shadow Empire and Distant Worlds and Age of Wonders and games like that I just keep on coming back to because I just love playing them. And so I'm really torn. Anyway, that's just a bit of a whinge. A whinge while we're here. But anyway, I'm decided with this one here, I thought, screw it. I'm just like, there's been enough changes now that have come into the beta process of Shadow Empire that definitely worth showing that. And so I've been recording this, as I say, this series, and I've been thoroughly enjoying it again. I love this game. It's just such a good game. Anyway, I actually wonder if there has been, I haven't looked at any of these websites for a long, long time. Let's do that. Yeah, this is the one I'm still using, 1.11.06. I'm pretty sure that's the one I'm still using. If I have a quick look at that one and click on it and then just go and open it up. Does it want to save it? Yeah, that's the one I've got. So that's the one I've actually brought in. Hang on, that was a long time before. Last update, 21st of July. Mine says the 11th. Oh, hang on. That's one that hasn't been changed. Okay, no, I'm using this one here. All right, God, I've only just been skipping past it. There's a number wrong there. All right, so what have they got in this one now? Reroll button. I won't restart my game, but anyway. So we've got the reroll button for the final planet generation phase. Added the text for the stratagems to the mouse overs because in some rare cases there's too much text. The stratagem fixed the number of trucks, APCs, and heavy motorized. Okay, fixed number of decisions where the writer is referring to the title of the leader of another regime using your own title. Really hope to fix a number of silent crashes caused with one of our open betas. I cannot reproduce crashes yet. Okay. Please, because non-aligned regime is basically in reality many regimes, your regime recon points no longer result in getting extra recon bonus points. Hang on. Your regime recon points no longer result. Oh, I'm with you. This was a problem where you actually ended up with getting too much information. Once you sent spies into a zone in an online territory, you would actually get a roll-on effect where you would then see other zones around it, but exponentially. And so all the non-aligned zones would show up, and that was sort of something that happened in 1.11.06. And I've certainly seen that in the game that I'm playing, and it means that you can very, very quickly see pretty much everything on the whole map as long as you've got enough spies in one or two zones. So that's been sort of fixed up. Not for any other factions, but just for the non-aligned factions. Fine-tune the zone algorithm to avoid huge non-aligned zones in some weird exception cases. Yeah, that was another thing that came in the last one. I haven't seen that. Fine-tune the workings of the commerce bonus. Yeah, I don't know what that actually does. These little asterisks means that you have to restart the game to get them to do it. I'm not going to do that. Fixed a glitch in the order of battle customization where you're allowed to send reinforcement types not yet available. Sped up the reactivity of a multiple choice questions at game start. Okay, I'll still load that one in. So I still will grab that and save it. Okay, so that's now ready to be patched in, and then I'll continue recording that. Probably even today some point I might try to do another episode, see if my voice can hold out. Again, at least I can pause or at least mute what I'm doing while I'm actually playing that one. All right, back to Matrix Games, back to the forums. Yeah, I'm sorry about my throat. Just go back to board index. I'll have a quick look at Distant Worlds 2. In fact, I'll just skim past the beta from the top here without going in. And I'm not allowed to sort of show it. Yeah, it's showing 1.058. I think that's an old one. Hang on, I'll just pause and have a quick look. All right, let's just continue on with the other games and sort of what's going on. In fact, that was when we finished off the last ChatTactic, and then the Obsidian Prince. I think last 2 weeks I just opened up for 5 minutes, have a quick look at it. That I think has been updated recently. Mindustry we spoke about. That's really, really fun, I've got to say. I did play that for 5 hours after I didn't record anything, but I just mucked around with it. So and I found that thoroughly enjoyable. Or did I? I might have done a live stream actually. I think I might have done a live stream of that one, which was good fun. Cantata is another one it's seeing some big changes, and I do have some giveaways for that one coming up in the coming weeks, so look out for that. So I can't give any giveaways today, of course, but this will be using, of course, the Jackbox starter pack again to do our giveaways. So join me next week at 3 a.m. my time on Tuesday, but usually Monday at some point for whatever time you guys are on. If you, I should try to figure out a good way of putting the date up. I know there's easy ways of doing it, but I just, my head is just not there today, so you'll have to forgive me for not figuring out a good way to do that just right at the moment. But next week I should be back in full swing doing what we're doing. Okay, just going through the stuff that's happened this week. Into the Breach, the Advanced Edition update, which is a free update, has hit. And it's got like a lot of extra stuff that now comes into the game. I haven't been able to see much of it yet because I haven't played enough of the game. My brain is just not capable. So Into the Breach is something that I do want to have a bit of another good look at. Into the Breach is one of these games, it's sort of like when you do a run, it's in one sense it's frustrating because you can't save where you are. It's a roguelike in that sort of fashion where when you're playing it, you can't go back and redo something easily. So it's sort of one of those things where if you make a bad mistake, it's rage quit time. And I'm certainly with the way my brain is at the moment, I'm rage quitting a lot. I'll see how I go today. I wouldn't even mind doing a live stream of Age of Wonders 3 or something. It's something like that. I don't know, just something just to veg out. I probably won't talk much though because of my throat. I'll see how I feel a bit later on. Anyway, this week we've got update 1.1 of Fire and Maneuver. This, I think, is looking great. Like just looking at the actual detail. I had a quick look at this one before I started recording. A lot of changes here, which is good, really, really good. I think it's still a long way to go, but it's very, very heartening to see this. Like just so much going on with it. Yeah, very nicely done. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this game ends up. I think it's going to be a great, great game. Ultimately, it's at the moment it's just not like it's more of a beta than an early access. Even with the list of changes, that's a lot of changes, But it's I'm liking this a lot. I'm liking what I'm seeing, and it's they're heading in the right direction with that one there. Cantata, we've got another one here. This is actually the a big change. That's why we've got the keys to give away. So special thank you to to the devs of Cantata for providing those through their PR company. But they will. I'm starting to give them away. But there'll be other big notices coming, and one of the big ones will be more random maps. So that'll be the big one for me. So that's looking pretty good, though. But they've just got a different way now of handling their supplies. So there's going to be more and more stuff happening with Cantata. I think this is going to be a nice game, actually, as well, as it sort of as it goes further into its development. What else happened this week? We've got a dev diary there for Stellaris. Summer culture. Looks like we've got some what are they called? Mammals. Some mammals. That's what we all are. We're all mammals. But we've got some furry mammals as well. Okay, we've got the Rust. Has got a which I know that most of you probably don't play Rust. It's anyway. That's one that is. Yeah, I can't even remember playing much of it. Actually, it's a long time since I've actually played Rust. Obsidian Prince, New Era to Explode, new Wandering Monsters, new Quick House. They obviously had a major update this week. I think this is why I wanted to test it out, to sort of see how it was sort of working. But I didn't play enough of it to really sort of get a good feel for it. So I'll leave that one alone. Odd Realm, again, I've got to get back into the Odd Realm. It's looking really, really interesting. Just the, it looks so detailed. Like it's a real graphical sort of Dwarf Fortress style game with all sorts of stuff in it. I think it might have 3 different factions now that are playable. A lot of going on. Caves of Cud, there's always regular updates for them. Clone Drone in the Danger Zone. Okay, we've got a new one Garbage Bot plush. Okay. That was fun. I enjoyed playing that. Hang on. Need to cough again. Oh, that's not fun. That's not fun. It's funny, we're right off our food as well, because we don't have any sense of smell anymore. We just, like both my wife and I, it's sort of, we certain foods taste different now, which is really funny. Because things that you used to love, you'd be thinking, oh, no, I couldn't stand eating that. And other foods are sort of like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll give that a go. But we're not eating very much. It's funny, a friend of mine who had it just a few weeks ago said, oh, you're going to enjoy soup. And at the start I thought, yeah, bullshit. But it's true. Soup is your best friend when you've got COVID. Anyway, Bracken Slash, I haven't played that much. I think I've played it for a couple of minutes just to see what it's like. I've got that to test. I haven't had a chance to really have a good look at that one just yet. Roguelite tactical ARPG. I haven't really had a good look at that one, so I can't really comment on that one. Going Medieval as well. New patch notes, that was fun, I think, from memory. Clan Folk, I still haven't got to that one either. I mean, I'm not going to get to anything this week, really, that's not there. August update is on the way. Okay, so after 2 weeks of silence, we're ready to reveal it's coming. Let's quickly, okay, this is fun. This will be fun. So after 2, let's quickly list the most important things. 5 new troops. Ex-warriors. Okay, cool. What I would like to see is more interaction with the way that you can actually then have the enemy attack you. Modernised logic for behaviour for settlement residents. Again, all of this you'll see in August. Just to add, we'll continue to work on the economics, especially in the late game. We also remember about the alternative source of soul crystals many of you have requested. All right, this is cool. This is good. So there's a fair bit of stuff in there. Anyway, we won't delve into that one. We'll wait for that one to come. Eric, this is Mindustry. This is where I think we got caught up. The first Eric here build is finally here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is where we got to last week. Well, what else can I talk about? I don't want this to go for too long. So it's still under half an hour, but anyway, my apologies for not being able to do this live, and I should have put this one up before now. I thought I might still be able to get up and do the live stream. So when I remembered it, I was not in a fit state to record yesterday. So I thought, I can't be bothered. I'll keep on watching, Fail Army. That's been good watching Fail Army, I've got to say, over the last few days. I think I've watched nearly all of those. Yeah, and so anyway, other things I guess for this week. yeah, we're expecting our first grandchild this week, so that's going to be something we're really, really looking forward to. So that's something that should happen in a couple of days, and so we're really, 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 well, I really hope everything goes well for our daughter and her husband, and of course for the baby. And but we're from our grandparenty sort of side of things, we're super excited. So we're sort of really looking forward to what's going on there. So we're sort of silently giving our best wishes to them. And of course, if you guys all want to silently send your best wishes as well, that would be very much appreciated. It's sort of it's one of those sort of funny things where I've got friends who are religious, and they say, "I will pray for you," and things like that. And I'm heartened by that. I like that. I'm not really a religious person, but I take that as being something quite special. And but my wife is also not religious, but she actually, oh no, I don't want people praying for me, as if it's sort of something that's going to, because she's not religious, it's going to actually do damage. But I don't know. I just don't understand that. Probably shouldn't have gone down that rabbit hole about religion and stuff. But to be honest, I find that for people who do believe, I find it quite humbling to that people would that they would actually that's how they sort of give you their best wishes. And so anyway, that's just me though. It's something that I always find that quite heartening to have that. I got a really good friend of mine is a pastor at a church, or reverend at a church now, and we communicate a lot. We argue a lot about religion. I think I'm the person that he bounces his stuff off just to sort of see how we go. And he's a great guy. Like I find that a lot of people who are very heavily into religion aren't doing it out of service, if that makes sense. But he actually really does, and it's sort of one of those things where I really respect what he does, with his religion and with his church and things like that. It's sort of one of those things. I think if I was religious, I would be, I would definitely be part of his church. But I'm not. I just don't believe it. So it's sort of So anyway, but and I like also that somebody in his with what he does, like me not being religious doesn't actually impact our friendship at all, which I think is really, really nice. So it's something that sometimes I would have liked to have done a little series maybe with him on YouTube, just to actually sort of talk about stuff, and because it's interesting just the differences in there's so many really high level philosophical things that around religion, like. Are you doing it because you have to type thing? Why? What motivates you to do the best for other people? And for me, I think it should just be coming out of who you are as a person. Like I think that should be, and religion shouldn't be making you do it. But he sees it as a way of guiding that. So yeah, it's interesting anyway. It's God, I've gone off on some tangents today, haven't we? What other things can we touch on? One thing I have been interested in is the Amazon Prime's new coming Age of what is it? Age of the Rings or something? Or anyway, it's the new Lord of the Rings. The Rings of Power is, I think, what it's called. And I'm really looking forward to it on one sense, and really, really not liking what I'm seeing on the other sense. So I've read Lord of the Rings maybe 12 times through my life, and I haven't read it for probably a good decade or two now, but so I've sort of forgotten a lot of the stuff. But I love the lore of Lord of the Rings, and that's actually a show that I think that there's too much negative being shown about about the show, which will be coming. And I think that I think it's got to be. I think that's a show that's going to have to be looked at the time. I don't think even with what we've been seeing. Actually, let's have a quick look and see if we can find something. Yeah, here it is here, Lord of the Rings of Power. So obviously it must be around the building or the making of the Rings of Power. And beginning at a time of relative peace, we follow an ensemble cast of characters as they confront the re-emergence of evil to Middle-earth. From the darkest depths of the misty mountains to the majestic forests of Lindon, to the breathtaking island kingdom of Numenor, to the furthest reaches of the map, these kingdoms and characters will carve out legacies that live on long after they are gone. It's sort of funny because, from what I can understand, they've compressed thousands of years worth of time into human lifetimes. And so, if you're not familiar with the lore of Lord of the Rings, I'll just try to sort of summarize it. And I'll try to do it in a fair way, because there's a lot of criticism about this. And I think a lot of it is valid, and a lot of it is probably not valid, or you really should be watched when it actually does come forward. Watch and see what they've actually done with it. Look, there's other examples where they've sort of really hashed adaptations of books in a way that I can sort of half understand. I mean, the last one that they did like this was the Wheel of Time series, and so they sort of redid the Wheel of Time, but then I was watching the actual author of the last lot of books of the Wheel of Time. Like Robert Jordan wrote the first lot of like most. I think he wrote 12 or 14 of the books or something like this. There's a lot of books in Wheel of Time, and then the last few were actually written by Brandon Sanderson, and Robert Jordan died. Oh, I don't know how long ago now it was, but anyway, Brandon Sanderson then was actually appointed to then write the finish off the series of books. I'm actually reading them at the moment. I'm only halfway through all of the books, and I'm loving reading it. It's just a beautiful read, that particular book, or not book, it's books. I couldn't even tell you how many books I'm into it, but it's that I've been reading it since that series came on Amazon Prime. But they made decisions back in that one where they had to change who did what and all sorts of different things, and then they, because of COVID, they had all sorts of other issues with production. They bodged up a lot of shit in that one, like a real lot of shit. But overall, I still think it was actually reasonable with what they actually ended up with. So it's something that I ultimately enjoyed, even though you would have to say they really hashed it, like in terms of mashing all of the different components into to make things sort of fit. They certainly changed the timelines here and there. They changed what powers people had, and that's probably the one thing I don't like is and I'll say it's wokeism. Like the wokeism of the decision making. And so many great movies over probably the last 5 or so years have been compromised because of trying to address social problems that we have in the world right now. And I actually think that you highlight more. I think when you see what things really were like back in the bad old days, it makes it much more powerful now. To highlight just how unfair it was for minorities in certain situations, rather than trying to make the minorities equal or in these historic type things. And it's sort of it's something that I think it's a disservice to them to actually to almost sort of pretend that that it was different. And history's history, like it's not something that you learn from your history. You don't learn from covering up history, and that's just something that I've always sort of thought was something that's important. And with fantasy, I think it's I do adhere to the premise that I told you we're going to be going down some rabbit holes, didn't I? I do adhere to the premise that I think that when an author creates a world, it's up to him what world he creates, and him or her. So him or her can, because you're J.K. Rowling, like J.K. Rowling, probably at the end of when she was writing the Harry Potter books, that's when wokeism started to sort of bite. And so she certainly did things in her books to try to address what was sort of becoming socially expected at that era. With Dumbledore, for example, being presented as a gay man, things like this. And I think she did a great job of that. And now they've come for her, as well. Like so, all of these authors, like she's still alive, but then you've got like J.R. Tolkien here is, like he actually is. He's gone, but his family have been so protective of his work and the lore that he created for the for Middle Earth and for for the whole, not just Middle Earth itself, but for the whole lore of Lord of the Rings. And I think that's something that I don't think that Amazon has really looked after, to be honest. Looking at what they've done, it's okay. Does it show equality and equity? No, it doesn't. But then neither, it was written at a time when it was based on pretty more Norse legend than anything else, where it was basically just one type of person in one type of the world. There's certainly, he did allow for other diverse sort of groupings, but they weren't part of his story. They were the Easterlings and the I forget what they were called, the Sutherlings and things like that did come into it, but not in a. They were away from what he focused on. He focused on what we would, like a proto-Europe essentially, as sort of with his writings. And that's probably the one thing that I don't understand why. I understand why there's pressure to do it, but there's also, I think equally there's pressure not to do it. And I think that particularly with something like Lord of the Rings, I would have just gone straight down that, as close to what J.R.R. Tolkien had for his lore as I possibly could. It's funny though, I look at what people look at with this, and they look at J.R.R. Tolkien's writings on one hand, and they then think, oh, Peter Jackson took those writings and emulated them 100%. And now we've got Amazon Prime over this side, which has just gone miles and miles away from it. And that's not true. Actually, what happened when Peter Jackson was making Lord of the Rings, like the trilogy, because I was really looking forward to that, because I was reading the books at that time as well, and he had so much flack from the purists, from the Lord of the Rings purists about, for example, there's is it Glorfindel? There's actually an elvish hero who did a lot to stop the ring wraiths in the early part of the book, and he also is somebody that's comes through from the first age through the second age, and so he's actually a very, very important character. He was written out of the book, and so that Arwen could then take over a lot of what he did in the early phase. Like Arwen saves the day for the crossing the I forget what the river's called anyway, the last river before Rivendell, and so she takes that role, where he actually, I think, was the one who, I think from memory, I may be wrong about that, but she definitely, I know at the time that was really contentious because it wasn't part of the law. And there were other instances back through that as well, where they were trying to like back then, the equality was much more about male and female than about the different races, and so they didn't really worry about racially what was happening, but they did worry sexually or gender-wise what was actually happening there. And so there was actually sort of like an attempt by Peter Jackson to sort of make it not as misogynistic as what it was. But again, it was written in an era that was misogynistic. So the purist in me likes to sort of see things done in whatever they were sort of, in however they were sort of presented back at that time, but without taking too many liberties to sort of try to make it so that it becomes more socially acceptable for today. When it becomes too much, and I do believe the Rings of Power have probably, like just looking at some of the, I guess the diversity that they've sort of put into the different factions and things, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I thought, to be honest, I actually thought that the Wheel of Time series did a good job of that. They did sort of show they showed diversity in a way that still worked within the realm of the books, and so I thought that actually worked quite nicely. Like because the Wheel of Time also is quite Eurocentric, I guess, in its sort of writings and its an approach. But there certainly is some variances in there, and so I thought that actually they did a good job of actually sort of introducing diversity that way. I don't want to go too much down this way. I don't like I don't like it when social pressure is put on to change things like the lore of Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. Anyway, that's just me, and I know that that's going to be contentious, and I'm guessing that there'll be a fair number of you that won't like me saying that. But I don't, I don't know, these things where you've got quotas and diversity hirings and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't think it's helpful. I don't think it helps move us forward. I think it actually moves us backwards, personally. But having said that, other things that I'm sort of looking at through here is you've got things, for example, like Galadriel, where you've got these like extremely important characters from the First Age that came through the full of the Second Age into the Third Age, and the Third Age is the end of the Third Age. Just to put this into perspective, is how many? I don't know how many years there is. The First Age is like an age of legends type thing, or even an age of mythology. This is really where the elves were created, I think, in the First Age, and the main players of the elves were sort of born in that First Age. So Galadriel was a First Age character. Here she is over here. So she's been around for a long time. Then the Second Age goes for like 3,000 or 4,000 years, and that's sort of where a lot of the other areas in the world sort of come together. Like Numenor is sort of where the High Men are then created, and that's sort of like where Aragorn is a High Man. So the Dunedain of the north are the remnants of where if you've got Numenor as an island that was created, the elves had I forget what they were called. The elves had like the western reaches. I'm guessing if you're looking at me, it's going to be that way. Yeah. Over here we had all these secret elf islands. The Grey Havens? No, Grey Havens is where they left from. Anyway, then you had Numenor in the middle, and an island which was like a special island for the High Men, as a reward for helping them fight. I think that because they helped them fight the last battle in the First Age, they were given this island as their special island, but they weren't allowed to go any further to the west. They had to stay on Numenor or east. They weren't allowed to go west. And then you had Middle Earth, sort of, which is a big landmass, sort of across this portion. Got to get my head around the right way here. And so the Numenorians really feature heavily from the Second Age. Now the elves are also all the way through Middle Earth in different things. They're across everything, but their special islands are way over here in the west. So they've got their I'll call them the Grey Havens, but they're not. They're something. They're called something different. Anyway, and so the elves of Middle Earth would move across, like they would sail across to their special islands, and then sort of that would be like where they would basically that was, I think, where the world was created initially for the elves in those western islands. Anyway, that's sort of like, that's the First Age, is more that one. The Second Age is more the rise of Numenor, and Numenor is, of course, where we get the Dunedain and so Gondor and those sorts of places all end up sort of coming out of Numenor. Numenor at the end is the destruction of Numenor is the end of the Second Age. Now, from what I can understand, Amazon is only allowed to write about the Second Age. They're not allowed to go into the Third Age at all, from what I can understand. And so the Second Age, the Third Age then is the whole thing where the rings are given out in the Second Age. The rings are forged I think they're forged at Numenor, but they're forged by most of the rings are forged by an elf. Celeborn, I forget his name. Anyway, there's like a master smith of the elves who makes the rings in good faith under the direction of Sauron. But Sauron secretly forges the Ring of Power. Now he's supposed to forge it in Mordor, but I thought that he was at Numenor as well. Anyway, it's sort of somewhere in amongst there. It's a bit of a mess. God, I'm hashing this. I shouldn't be doing this sort of complicated stuff when I'm feeling like this. Anyway, the rings are given out. Sauron takes control of what he can of the rings back in that era. The dwarves manage to resist it. They've got 7 rings. They resist him. And so Sauron tries to get back those 7 rings, and he gets most of them back in that 7th Age. So that's all stuff that can actually come what the Amazon can do. They could have whole series on Sauron trying to track down the dwarvish rings of power. The three elvish rings never got corrupted. Basically, the elves managed to sort of keep them as well secure. And Galadriel has one of those and uses that effectively throughout the Third Age to fight the forces of Sauron. So she actually uses that. She's not a warrior that they present here. I don't know why they've done that, because she's already like 4,000 years old here. You know, she's not just learning her ropes. she's already incredibly powerful at this point in the actual story. I need another cough. Then you've got God, that didn't help much. And so, God, I can tell you, I'm glad I didn't do this live. It would have been really, really tough. You've then got towards the end of the Second Age. The end of the Second Age is really the destruction of Numenor, and that comes about because I think Sauron corrupts the rulers. Well, the 9 rings are given to 9 Dunedain of Numenor, like the 9 Numenorian kings, and so they become the ringwraiths. And so that's the one thing. That's the one group that he does have complete power over, and they then retain their power over the course of the next thousands of years as wraiths. So in the Second Age, they become wraiths for Sauron, from Numenor. I think they do get to Middle Earth and do things like that, but it's mainly, I think the Second Age is brought about, the end of the Second Age is mainly brought about because the men of Numenor are corrupted into thinking that they deserve to go to the islands way over here that you shall not go to. So they head west and are destroyed completely, and Numenor is then destroyed as well. And so all we're left with is the remnants of Numenor in the north of like where the Dunedain actually are, and then also that's the start of the Third Age. And the Third Age is where then we have the fights against Sauron. So I think that Isildur and all those sorts of stories where they actually hack the ring off Sauron's finger, I think that's sort of like 1,000 years into the Third Age. So it gives you an impression of just how far beyond what Amazon is allowed to talk about. Is going to be actually shown now. So they've compressed thousands of years worth of lore into one series, but made it seem like it's a human lifetime, because I think I saw Isildur actually mentioned somewhere in one of the things. I'm thinking, I didn't even think he was actually part of the Second Age, so I don't know how they're allowed to use him. I think there's been a lot of... So am I looking forward to it? I don't know, 50-50. I don't want to say it's going to be shit. It looks stunning, but there's a lot of things I'm concerned about with it, I've got to say. A lot of things. So, but I will try to open it. I will try to go and look at it with an open mind. It's sort of... I know enough about Lord of the Rings to be dangerous, but I'm making a lot of, I'm going off memory for a lot of what I'm just talking about now. But my understanding is that from what we know of the Rings of Power, the real story that we know begins with the hacking off of Sauron's finger and taking the ring. Isildur takes the ring, and then he uses that to become like a champion of the North, throughout the for a period of time before it falls off his finger in the Gladden Fields. It sort of gets washed down. I think it's the Anduin River a little bit, and then found by Gollum, or by Gollum's brother, I think it is, or cousin, who Gollum then kills for the ring, and then Gollum then takes it away from that era. What's interesting to me, and an area that I think would be fantastic to get some more information on, would be the main character from the main Numenorian noble that takes the first of the rings from Sauron is the Witch King of Angmar, and that then the Witch King of Angmar is then sort of set up so for a long period in the Third Age, the Witch King is actually dominating the North, and the Dunedain are fighting him. And so a lot of what goes on is this interaction between the Witch King, which is the main ring wraith, the one that actually ends up getting killed by what's her name, by Mary and whatever her name is, the daughter of the Rowan King. Or Rowan Steward. No, Rowan King. They've got a king. It's the Steward of Gondor. So anyway, it's convoluted, but it's so fascinating what Tolkien did, and that's why I really hope that they haven't given these rights out and that they end up corrupting. I know that Peter Jackson had to step back a lot from what I can understand, from what he wanted to do with to make it more contemporary. And he had to then end up going back more to the actual books themselves. And I don't think Amazon has been made to do that. And I really think I think that will end up hurting the series ultimately. I don't know. I think when you're talking about Lord of the Rings, you're talking about a fairly sort of passionate group of people who have read the books. Like it's a lot of us grew up on those books. So anyway, it's going to be interesting to sort of see what actually does happen. I'm looking forward to it on one hand, and also very apprehensive on the other hand. I love what Peter Jackson ended up doing with his series, and I had the same feeling about that, to be honest. I thought, this is going to be shit. Because I knew that he'd gone away from the books slightly, and that was enough for me. I mean, I think he butchered badly the Hobbit. That was just an absolute abomination of the actual story of the Hobbit. The story of the Hobbit as well was written as almost like a short story. It was not that by that stage the J.R. Tolkien hadn't even fleshed out the lore or anything like that. So it wasn't like that was full of problems as well. But it is funny. It's just so. I think the Rings of Power from Amazon is going to be a Peter Jackson version of The Hobbit. Sort of how I would sort of see it coming together. Anyway, that's just it. So I've spent so long on this, on going off down this rabbit hole here. Sorry about that, guys. I'll catch you next week, and we'll have some games to give away. Thanks. I'll catch you then.